Lake Issyk-Kul stretches across the heart of Kyrgyzstan. To the casual observer, it is a serene expanse of alpine beauty, yet local whispers hint at a hidden story. Scientists and explorers alike have noted the lake's unusual characteristics. It is endorheic, retaining mineral-rich waters. Legends speak of sacred sites lining the shore, abandoned abruptly during cataclysmic events. Preliminary underwater surveys reveal patterns in the lakebed that suggest human construction. Travelers from centuries past documented the lake's mysterious reputation. Shamans claim these ruins radiate spiritual energy, echoing rituals performed long ago, preserved beneath the cold, calm surface. Though skeptics caution against interpreting these as more than natural anomalies, the alignment of sonar evidence with folklore suggests otherwise. A civilization paused in time, waiting silently beneath Issyk-Kul's mysterious depths. Issyk-Kul's calm surface lies the possibility of a lost civilization, remembered in fragments of history and carried forward by the lake's legends. Before nomadic migrations reshaped Central Asia, communities thrived along these shores, participating in intricate trade networks linking the Silk Road with the Fergana Valley and beyond. These interactions likely fostered the construction of temples and ceremonial centers. Natural hazards, floods, and shifting waters may have forced the abandonment of these settlements, leaving them submerged beneath layers of silt. Oral traditions speak of priests and sacred sites consumed by the lake, their structures visible only fleetingly in certain light or season. Sediment studies and geological analyses corroborate the possibility of rapid burial events. The lake's endorheic nature and fluctuating levels would have alternately exposed and hidden these sites. In villages along the shores, elders recount tales of lights reflected on the water, interpreted as spiritual manifestations. This fusion of oral history and environmental context hints at a civilization whose presence remains partially hidden, inviting explorers and researchers to decipher the story. Written beneath Issyk-Kul's waters. Issyk-Kul is more than a scenic lake, it is a geological archive, holding clues to vanished temples beneath its depths. Formed in a tectonic basin created by the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates. Geological surveys reveal sediment layers that suggest sudden flood events, capable of engulfing riverside settlements and entombing stone structures almost instantly. Seasonal fluctuations in water levels, combined with tectonic shifts, could have repeatedly submerged and exposed settlements, eroding wooden superstructures while preserving stone elements beneath silt. For archaeologists, understanding the lake's seismic history and sediment deposition is essential to interpreting anomalies as possible human-made structures rather than natural formations. Each layer of sediment tells a story of destruction, a record of forces that have simultaneously concealed and safeguarded what may be the remains of ancient temples. Issyk-Kul's geological character not only shaped the fate of human settlements but also preserved them, waiting for modern science to reveal the hidden narrative lying beneath its placid surface. Beneath Issyk-Kul was more than a lake, it was a crossroads where cultures met and flourished. Modern maps charted Central Asia. The shores of Issyk-Kul hosted communities engaged in vibrant trade, connecting the Silk Road to distant valleys and mountain passes. Artifacts discovered nearby, pottery fragments and jewelry, reflect influences from Persian, Sogdian, and even Chinese merchants, suggesting that this region was far from isolated. The temples believed to lie beneath the lake were likely more than simple shrines, they may have functioned as centers of spiritual and political life. Architectural descriptions preserved in oral histories speak of pillars carved with intricate symbols, platforms aligned with celestial events, and courtyards designed for ritual and communal gathering. These sanctuaries may have integrated native nomadic designs with external influences, perhaps Buddhist or Zoroastrian, reflecting a synthesis of traditions along these active trade routes. Linguistic evidence in local place names preserves echoes of religious and ceremonial significance, with bays and promontories hinting at sacred sites once active along the shores. Seasonal floods and rising waters could have buried or submerged entire complexes, leaving only faint traces detectable today. The convergence of commerce and architecture around Issyk-Kul paints a portrait of a society that was both cosmopolitan and deeply connected to its environment, a civilization whose vanished temples may now rest silently beneath the lake, awaiting discovery. By studying these interactions, researchers gain insight into how human ambition and spirituality once intertwined along the shores of this enigmatic body of water. Issyk-Kul's mysteries are not confined to stone or sediment, they live vividly in the stories passed down through generations. Kyrgyz oral tradition recounts temples and sacred sites swallowed by the lake, often tied to moral or spiritual lessons. Shamans, regarded as mediators between the human and spirit worlds, describe sacred platforms and stones arranged in intricate patterns. These ritual sites were said to ensure bountiful harvests, protect communities from natural calamities, and maintain harmony between humans and elemental forces. Tales of entire villages vanishing overnight, with only glimpses of towers or golden roofs briefly visible, persist across both northern and southern shores, suggesting a shared cultural memory. While skeptics dismiss such stories as myth, the consistency of description's location aligns intriguingly with preliminary sonar imaging. These narratives reflect a worldview where water bodies were considered living entities capable of judgment and where human activity was subject to the unpredictable power of nature. Anthropologists argue that these legends function as mnemonic devices, preserving historical events such as floods or rapid sediment deposition, while simultaneously embedding spiritual teachings. The intersection of folklore and preliminary scientific data provides a multidimensional lens. Through these stories, the vanished temples gain life again, not as ruins of stone but as enduring symbols of human ingenuity. Interest in Issyk-Kul's submerged mysteries began to intensify during the 20th century, as researchers combined local legends with emerging scientific techniques. Early Soviet-era archaeologists conducted preliminary surveys along the lake's shores, noting unusual stone alignments and foundation remnants that hinted at human construction. Limited technology prevented comprehensive underwater exploration, leaving many of these findings ambiguous, yet they suggested that more substantial structures could exist beneath the water. Decades later, advances in technology allowed modern scientists to investigate the lakebed with unprecedented precision. High-resolution sonar, remotely operated underwater vehicles, ROVs, and geophysical imaging revealed linear and rectangular formations that might indicate foundations or ceremonial platforms, though distinguishing between natural and man-made shapes remains challenging. Sediment accumulation has preserved some potential artifacts while simultaneously concealing them, making excavation delicate and technically demanding. Local accounts continue to play a vital role, as villagers report occasional glimpses of stone walls or platforms during periods of low water, corroborating preliminary scientific observations. Lines of evidence, archaeological and folkloric, suggest that Issyk-Kul may conceal more than natural features beneath its calm surface. Seasonal fluctuations, combined with centuries of seismic activity, likely contributed to the partial submersion of temples, preserving fragments while erasing others. Researchers must navigate the delicate balance between scientific inquiry and respect for local traditions, acknowledging that each sonar reading or artifact recovered adds pieces to a puzzle that is far from complete. The convergence of modern exploration and ancient memory paints a compelling picture of lake that is not only a geographical feature but a repository of history and spiritual significance, holding secrets of vanished temples that have yet to fully reveal themselves. Among historians, archaeologists and explorers, the idea that temples lie submerged beneath Issyk-Kul has grown from local legend into a theory worthy of scientific consideration. Scholars suggest that communities once constructed temples along the lakeshore to serve both spiritual and communal purposes. Foundations of these structures, often described in oral traditions as stone platforms with timber superstructures, were aligned with solar, lunar, or seasonal cycles, indicating a sophisticated understanding of celestial patterns. The possibility of sudden submersion due to earthquakes, floods, or landslides could explain why no intact temples have been definitively documented. Modern sonar surveys have revealed linear and rectangular formations on the lakebed, which, while not conclusive, closely match the dimensions and orientations described in folklore. These formations may represent walls, courtyards, or ceremonial platforms that once stood proudly above the water. Ethnographic studies reinforce this theory. Local place names, recurring spiritual narratives, and seasonal rituals suggest an enduring memory of sacred sites. Critics remain cautious, emphasizing that geological features, sediment shifts, or natural ridges can easily mimic human construction, and that without excavation, claims of submerged temples remain speculative. Nonetheless, the convergence of empirical evidence and oral tradition strengthens the argument that these formations are more than chance. If confirmed, such a discovery would reshape our understanding of Kyrgyzstan's pre-Islamic history, revealing a network of sophisticated spiritual centers and community hubs. Beyond architecture, the theory highlights the profound relationship between humans and their environment, where religious life intertwined with natural forces, and settlements adapted to volatile landscapes. The lake's submersion of these temples becomes a symbol of both impermanence and resilience. Structures may vanish from sight, yet their influence endures through memory, ritual, and the stories passed across generations. Scientific exploration continues to probe these possibilities, guided by sonar readings, sediment analysis, and centuries of anecdotal evidence. The submerged temples theory reminds us that beneath serene waters may lie a civilization's silent testimony, preserved in stone and sediment, waiting for modern technology and careful scholarship to uncover its long-lost secrets. Each expedition, each sonar mapping, and each local account adds layers to our understanding, bridging myth, history, and the forces of nature in a tale that is as compelling as it is elusive. Issyk-Kul's waters hold not only physical mysteries but also stories of sacred guardians who once presided over the temples that legend claims vanished beneath its surface. Villagers recount tales of priests entrusted with maintaining harmony between human communities and the elemental forces of the lake. These priests were said to possess extraordinary knowledge of the stars, water cycles, and spiritual rituals designed to appease unseen deities, ensuring the prosperity and protection of lakeside settlements. According to folklore, a cataclysm, possibly an earthquake, sudden flood, or landslide, obliterated the temples in a single night, claiming the lives of the priests and their sacred objects. Locals speak of glimpses of stone walls, ceremonial platforms, or carved pillars briefly visible during certain seasons, as sunlight glints off the water, only to vanish again beneath the waves. Anthropologists studying Central Asian oral traditions note that such stories often preserve fragments of historical events, compressed into allegorical narratives to teach lessons, reinforce social norms, and instill reverence for natural forces. The recurring motif of priests disappearing along with their temples reflects a worldview where spiritual intermediaries were inseparable from sacred architecture, and where natural events were interpreted as manifestations of divine will. Modern researchers suggest that while the supernatural elements of these stories may be symbolic, the consistency of location, temple description, and ceremonial timing provides valuable insight into historical rituals and settlement patterns. These legends emphasize the delicate relationship between human life and nature, highlighting a civilization attuned to environmental rhythms yet vulnerable to sudden catastrophe. The priest's disappearance is remembered not just as loss but as a cautionary tale, reinforcing the notion that the lake was a living, conscious entity demanding respect. The fusion of myth and potential historical fact creates a layered understanding of Issyk-Kul, where submerged ruins may indeed exist, safeguarded beneath centuries of sediment, and where cultural memory preserves the narrative of those who once walked its shores. The stories of sunken priests serve as both spiritual guidance and historical testimony, suggesting that beneath the serene surface lies a complex interplay of human devotion, environmental forces, and enduring legend. For explorers, historians, and locals alike, the lake is not merely a body of water but a repository of memory, where vanished temples and their custodians remain alive in story, ritual, and the enduring fascination with the unknown. In the 21st century, the exploration of Issyk-Kul's lakebed has entered a new era, driven by modern technology that allows unprecedented glimpses beneath the water's surface. High-resolution sonar, remote-operated underwater vehicles, ROVs, and satellite imaging have transformed speculation into measurable investigation. Researchers have identified linear formations, rectangular depressions, and clustered stone-like structures on the lakebed that align with local legends of temples and ceremonial platforms. While skeptics argue these features may be natural geological formations, their alignment, spacing, and orientation suggest deliberate planning rather than random occurrence. Collaborative projects between Kyrgyz scientists and international archaeologists aim to systematically document these anomalies, combining underwater imaging with sediment analysis to determine the age, composition, and possible human origin of discovered artifacts. Digital reconstruction has become a critical tool, allowing scholars to visualize what the submerged temples may have looked like, incorporating architectural motifs from Central Asia's pre-Islamic period, such as stone pillars, stepped platforms, and ritual courtyards. These reconstructions, though speculative, provide a tangible framework to interpret fragmented evidence. Seasonal drops in water level occasionally reveal stone foundations, granting fleeting insight into structures once thought entirely lost. The integration of local oral histories with scientific data has proven invaluable. Villagers' descriptions of visible walls, ceremonial sites, and spiritual occurrences guide targeted exploration and help validate sonar findings. Moreover, advanced techniques such as 3D mapping and geophysical surveying allow researchers to model sediment layers, detect anomalies, and predict locations where intact structures are most likely preserved. Modern technology thus bridges myth and empirical evidence, revealing that the lake may conceal remarkable insights into an ancient civilization. Beyond archaeology, these explorations captivate historians, documentary filmmakers, and cultural preservationists, highlighting Issyk-Kul as both a scientific frontier and a cultural treasure. The lake's enigmatic depth continues to challenge assumptions, reminding humanity that even in an age of advanced technology, some secrets are held by nature, awaiting discovery and interpretation. Each expedition reinforces the notion that Issyk-Kul is a living archive, where legend, memory, and scientific investigation converge beneath a deceptively calm surface, revealing layers of human endeavor, spiritual practice, and environmental interplay. The lakes of Central Asia have long been shaped by the interplay of natural forces, and Issyk-Kul is no exception. Geological studies indicate that the lake sits in a tectonic basin, surrounded by mountains prone to earthquakes and landslides. Over centuries, seismic activity may have triggered sudden surges, sweeping riverside settlements and temples into the water. Seasonal floods, coupled with glacial melt from surrounding peaks, further contributed to fluctuating water levels, gradually eroding foundations and submerging sacred structures. Sediment analysis of the lakebed reveals layers consistent with abrupt deposition events, suggesting that buildings may have been buried almost instantaneously under meters of silt and detritus. These conditions complicate the task of archaeologists attempting to distinguish natural formations from human-made structures, but they also offer a unique preservation environment, particularly for stone foundations and ritual platforms. Researchers theorize that the temples were not constructed randomly. Their placement may have been carefully chosen to align with natural features, celestial events, and water sources, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of environmental and spiritual harmony. Such integration of architecture and nature demonstrates that the ancient builders of Issyk-Kul were highly attuned to the risks and rhythms of their surroundings, crafting structures that were both functional and symbolic. Local folklore supports this interpretation, recounting instances where temples were claimed by rising waters or earthquakes, yet their sacred influence persisted through memory and ritual. The submerged temples, if they existed as described, embody the tension between human ambition and the forces of nature, standing as silent witnesses to the impermanence of physical creations. Modern exploration seeks to map these sites with precision, combining sonar technology, sediment sampling, and local testimony to reconstruct a plausible history of occupation, ritual practice, and eventual submersion. The lake, therefore, is not only a natural reservoir but a dynamic historical archive, preserving traces of civilizations lost to time. Each discovery, observation, or legend enriches the understanding of how communities adapted to environmental pressures while maintaining spiritual continuity. Issyk-Kul exemplifies the delicate balance between human enterprise and natural forces, reminding us that beneath even the calmest waters, history can lie concealed, waiting to be interpreted by those who seek both evidence and meaning. Over the past decades, material evidence beneath Issyk-Kul has provided tantalizing hints of what may lie hidden. Sonar surveys and remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, have mapped the lakebed, revealing linear formations, geometric depressions, and clustered anomalies consistent with human construction. These formations suggest walls, platforms, or ceremonial courtyards, though their precise nature remains uncertain. Sediment accumulation has preserved stone foundations while erasing traces of wooden superstructures, leaving researchers to rely on indirect clues to reconstruct ancient layouts. Fragments of pottery, metal implements, and stone tools discovered along the lake's edges corroborate historical accounts of pre-Islamic settlements. These artifacts indicate that communities were highly organized, capable of producing specialized objects and establishing ritual centers that connected spiritual and social life. Seasonal fluctuations expose portions of the lakebed, allowing local villagers and researchers to witness fleeting glimpses of submerged structures, sometimes confirming the locations suggested by sonar data. Sediment cores and stratigraphic analysis reveal rapid deposition events, likely linked to flooding, earthquakes, or landslides, providing a plausible explanation for the temple's sudden disappearance. Anthropologists emphasize the value of integrating these physical findings with oral histories. the alignment of eyewitness accounts with material evidence strengthens the argument for submerged human constructions rather than natural formations. Modern technology also allows for digital reconstruction, helping scholars visualize how temples, platforms, and ceremonial courtyards may have appeared before submersion. These reconstructions consider architectural motifs consistent with Central Asian civilizations, including columned halls, stepped terraces, and solar alignments, providing context for ritual practices. The interplay between tangible evidence, folklore, and geological data creates a multidimensional perspective, illustrating not only the physical presence of temples but also their cultural and spiritual significance. While definitive excavation has yet to confirm their existence, these material traces, combined with sonar mapping and local memory, suggest that Issyk-Kul may conceal a sophisticated network of sacred structures. Each discovery underscores the complexity of interpreting submerged sites and the delicate balance between environmental forces, human ingenuity, and ritual continuity. The lake's depths, seemingly serene, guard their secrets with meticulous precision, challenging explorers to bridge myth and evidence while piecing together a history that has been submerged for centuries. The enduring allure of Issyk-Kul lies not only in material traces or sonar data but also in the rich tapestry of folklore that has survived for centuries. Villagers along the lake speak of temples, priests, and entire settlements swallowed by water, often recounting precise locations, structural details, and ceremonial practices. Anthropologists argue that these oral narratives preserve fragmented memories of historical events, encoded as allegory to teach lessons, maintain social order, and honor the environment. Tales of shimmering towers, platforms aligned with the sun or stars, and spirits guarding sacred sites are more than myth. They may reflect genuine ritual practices and architectural features that once existed along the shores. Folklore often complements material evidence, offering clues for modern exploration by indicating where anomalies in the lakebed should be investigated. Descriptions of stone foundations, pillar alignments, and ceremonial courtyards, passed down through generations, often match the findings of sonar surveys and sediment analysis, suggesting a striking coherence between myth and potential historical reality. The integration of oral history into archaeological methodology provides a nuanced lens through which researchers can interpret both physical and intangible evidence. Moreover, these stories underscore the cultural importance of the lake itself. Issyk-Kul was not merely a body of water but a living entity, deeply intertwined with spiritual belief and human activity. Seasonal floods, earthquakes, and glacial surges, which may have submerged temples, are remembered through allegorical storytelling, preserving knowledge of environmental hazards in addition to historical memory. Through this lens, folklore becomes a tool for reconstructing lost civilizations, revealing patterns of settlement, religious practice, and societal values. It allows scholars to hypothesize the existence, layout, and function of submerged temples with greater contextual understanding. By merging legend with modern technology, researchers gain a multidimensional perspective of Issyk-Kul's past, appreciating both the physical and symbolic dimensions of vanished sacred sites. The stories endure because they resonate with human experience, loss, awe, reverence, and the desire to understand forces beyond control. Folklore thus acts as both archive and guide, illuminating paths of discovery while preserving the cultural heartbeat of a civilization hidden beneath the lake's tranquil surface. As research progresses, scholars, explorers, and local storytellers have begun to explore hybrid theories that combine science, history, and folklore to explain the mysteries of Issyk-Kul. The submerged temples may not simply represent the remnants of lost civilizations. They could reflect a complex interplay between human ingenuity and natural forces. Some propose that these structures were constructed with knowledge of local geology, water levels, and celestial alignment, designed to withstand environmental pressures yet remain spiritually resonant. Others suggest that rapid environmental events, earthquakes, glacial floods, or landslides, caused partial or complete submersion, leaving only traces detectable by sonar or brief seasonal exposure. The convergence of technological data, sediment analysis, and oral history strengthens the plausibility of this theory, yet it also opens avenues for speculation. Could these temples have been part of a larger network of sacred sites connecting Issyk-Kul with other Central Asian spiritual centers? Did the design incorporate astronomical knowledge, as some formations appear aligned with solstices or lunar cycles? Hybrid theories recognize that definitive answers may remain elusive, yet they embrace the multidimensional evidence at hand. Structural anomalies, material artifacts, legends, and environmental patterns. The lake, viewed through this lens, becomes both a historical archive and a mythic landscape, where physical evidence and cultural memory coexist. Explorers and researchers must navigate this complex terrain, balancing empirical rigor with interpretive openness. Each discovery, from sonar mappings to seasonal exposures of stone foundations, adds nuance to the narrative, hinting at a civilization that combines spiritual devotion with architectural sophistication. The speculation itself holds value, as it encourages cross-disciplinary study, blending geology, archaeology, anthropology, and folklore into a comprehensive approach. Ultimately, these hybrid theories illuminate Issyk-Kul not merely as a lake with hidden structures, but as a stage where nature and human endeavor intersected, creating a legacy of mystery, cultural significance, and unanswered questions. The pursuit of understanding continues, driven by curiosity, technology, and the enduring stories that have traversed centuries, keeping alive the possibility that beneath the tranquil waters lie temples, rituals, and histories yet to be fully revealed. Issyk-Kul's submerged temples remain one of Central Asia's most compelling enigmas, blending the tangible and the intangible, history and legend, science and spirituality. Centuries of seismic activity, floods and glacial shifts may have hidden architectural marvels beneath the lake, preserving them from human interference while erasing direct access. Yet, the lake has not fully concealed its secrets. Sediment layers, sonar anomalies, and material fragments suggest a civilization once thrived along these shores, constructing temples, ceremonial platforms, and ritual centers that reflected both cosmic knowledge and local environmental awareness. Oral traditions recount priests, sacred rituals, and miraculous events, reinforcing the memory of these sites while imbuing them with cultural and spiritual resonance. Archaeologists and explorers face a delicate task, distinguishing natural formations from human-made structures, interpreting material traces, and respecting the cultural significance these legends carry. Each season, as water levels fluctuate, glimpses of stone foundations hint at the scale and sophistication of what may lie beneath, yet a complete understanding remains elusive. Hybrid theories, combining technological investigation, environmental study, and folklore, allow researchers to hypothesize the placement, function, and spiritual importance of submerged structures while acknowledging the inherent uncertainty of interpreting partially preserved evidence. In this interplay of discovery and speculation, the lake becomes a living archive, a place where human ambition, spiritual practice, and environmental forces converge. The mystery of Issyk-Kul challenges our perception of permanence, illustrating how civilizations can vanish beneath water, yet leave enduring legacies in memory, material traces, and cultural narrative. As modern exploration advances, each new sonar scan, sediment analysis, and documented oral account contributes to a layered understanding, bridging centuries of human experience. The vanished temples, whether fully realized or partially imagined through folklore, inspire awe, curiosity, and reflection on the resilience and vulnerability of human civilizations. They remind us that beneath serene surfaces, history waits silently, sometimes revealed, sometimes hidden, always inviting inquiry. Standing on the shores of Issyk-Kul, one cannot help but wonder, what else lies submerged, unseen, and waiting for the world to remember it?